All right. Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. Happy almost Pride Month. We are here with Kim Narby, who is Sapph-Lit's very first author of our book, Saturn Returning. I'm realizing, I feel like I have copies everywhere around me, but the only thing that I have on me right now is our tarot deck. And of course, the poster that I have behind us. And I am staring at like my bookshelf in front of me that has like 20 copies. But we are here to talk about her first book, Saturn Returning, which is Sapph-Lit Imprint's first ever book publishing. And yes, I went, oh my God, there is a tarot deck. Um, so to introduce Kim, Kim Narby is a queer writer from Seattle. Her work has been published in Writer Die magazine and People magazine. She has organized with the New York City Dyke March and received support from the Tin House Summer Workshop. Her debut novel, Saturn Returning, was published with Sapph-Lit, the imprint of Bindery Books, in May 2026. She lives in Brooklyn with her Cocker Spaniel, Georgia, and you can find her on social and on Substack at Kim Narby. Kim, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, congratulations on finishing what I feel like was the craziest month of my life and must have been the craziest month of your life as well. How are you feeling? Saturn Returning has been out for like a month now.
I'm feeling good. It's like quieted down a lot, which I honestly have been looking forward to for a while, even before the book came out. I was like, it needs to quiet down. So that's nice, but I'm also like about to go on tour, so I feel like it's about to get a little bit busy again. But I'm very happy I spread all the events out, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, we had, I think, three New York events, and we have this virtual event, and you're off to Boston this week to do
Yep.
Boston, Provincetown, and then there's Seattle, LA, Philadelphia. We're going to be posting updated tour stop dates tomorrow. Is there a location you're most excited to be at?
Um, well, they all have very special meaning to me. Um, Boston, I lived in Boston for 10 years, so I'm going to see a lot of close friends in Boston. P-Town is an incredibly special place to me. I'm very lucky that they offered that bookstore. I was not expecting to go there, and it's going to be P-Town Pride the weekend I'm there, which is very thrilling. And then Seattle's obviously going to be great because it's my hometown. My mom and my friend are planning a little party for me, so that'll be nice.
So fun, deserve. So let's go back to like the very beginning. Will you share the origin story of Saturn Returning? What gave you the idea for these characters and their intertwining story, and how did you develop that?
Yeah, so this was like early 2020. I had always wanted to write a book, but I wasn't doing a lot of writing, to be honest. I didn't get an MFA. I was focused on like building a career because I had student loans and that was important. But I always had wanted to write a book, and never had like an idea that I felt like could become an entire novel. Like you have to write like 90,000 words on something that you have to be really invested in that topic, right? That storyline. And early in 2020, I was on a dating app. I met somebody on a dating app. We chatted for a while. We made plans to hang out. And she texted me one day and was like, "Hey, it's a long story, but I'm not really dating anymore. If you still want to hang out as friends, like I'm cool with that, but like not going on dates." And I was like, totally. Like I was somewhat new to New York still, so I was very down to make friends, but I was like, I hope everything's okay. And she was like, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a long story, but basically my best friend broke off her engagement and told me she was in love with me. And I was like shocked that she told me this and wanted so much information. Like I'm really here for gossip, and it's very funny. My Emily Austin gave me like probably my favorite blurb for the book, where she said that like reading the book was like talking to your friend who's sharing their vulnerable gossip. And my friend said this is what hanging out with me is like. And I actually think all of my writing is quite like this. This is like I want to write a book that makes you feel like you're reading gossip. Um, but I heard this information and I was like, wow, I'm obsessed with this. We chatted a little bit more about it, and all she said was that the relationship with the fiance, her best friend's fiance, was also complicated. And I didn't know any of these people's genders. I knew this person that I was talking to was gay, but I did not know anybody's genders. And I started talking to my friends about it. Like we had a whole group chat that was like named for the situation. And I really think it only took a weekend for me to like envision these three characters. I was like, these are all lesbians. They're obviously all friends. They've been friends for a long time. That's why this is complicated. And I think like by the following, that was like a Friday, she sent me that text. And I'm pretty sure by Monday I was already writing the book. And that was like a couple weeks before lockdown. And then lockdown happened and gave me a lot of time back to work on writing. So I kept writing it.
Have you reconnected with this person and sent her the
No,
book or any? Because I know you thanked
I
her in the
haven't. I haven't.
acknowledgments.
Yeah, I do thank her in the acknowledgments. I haven't texted her yet, but it has been on my list to do. I like have been slowly reaching out to people. I reached out to my English teacher this last week, who I like talked about in my speech at one of my parties. And it is on my list to text this girl because I do have her phone number, but I have not done it yet. That is a task for the next couple weeks.
Okay, I will be following up with you on that. I'm deeply invested in her response.
Yeah.
And I do remember you talking about your English teacher at your party. What was their reaction? Have you heard back from
I
them?
haven't heard back from her yet, so I'm not sure.
Okay,
We'll
noted.
see.
Well, I would love to dive more into your writing process. And I mean, we have so many writers here in Sapph-Lit. I just finished my first draft of my first book and I'm in edits. And I am just so curious how this book came to be because I feel like I got the tail end of it where you were working with Girl Friday Productions and Bindery to get those dev edits, copy edits, like getting it into the publishable place that it is that everyone has in their hands. But what is the 5 years before that? Let's dive into that. How did you get it to the place where I read it during Pitch Fest?
Yeah, there was a lot of, I mean, I learned a lot about writing as I wrote this book. This was the first novel that I ever wrote. A lot of writers will say their first novel didn't get published. They had to shelve a lot of novels first. I couldn't let this one go, and I think that is why it ended up getting published. I really was like determined for this one to work. And there was a full rewrite that happened at one point. So there was a lot of trial and erroring. Like I said, I didn't get an MFA. And so I started taking a lot of writing workshops while I was writing the book. So I took an intro to fiction 6-week workshop. I took a plotting workshop because I was like, I don't know anything about plot. I took character workshops. I took a joy first drafting workshop with Austin Osworth that really, really helped determine how I even got to the end of the first draft. They kind of teach the workshop. The idea of the workshop is it's only positive feedback. You're not allowed to say anything negative about anyone's writing, which I think is a really, really cool way to do things because
Yeah,
writing workshops, especially like the historical Iowa method, can really ruin people and people will stop writing based on feedback they hear in workshops.
yeah.
And so I liked that approach, but they also had us at the beginning of the class, they were like, write down 10 scenes that you know need to happen in your book, no matter what order they're in or that you're excited about writing. And you're going to write those scenes in this class. And so it was this idea of like, you don't need to write in a chronological order. You don't need to write in the order that the book was
Mm,
meant to be read in. Like, write the things you're excited about because those are the things that are really going to matter at the end of the day. And so I started completely bouncing around. Trace's final chapter where she's like on the roof. I wrote like kind of early on. Like I wrote
oh,
that like maybe 2
really?
years. Yeah, like I wrote that before a lot of other stuff. Um, and so I just kind of like I was like, oh, I feel like this is where she's going to end up. Um, and so that's how that happened. My poor writing group, like I would give them a chapter and they would be missing like half the book because they hadn't read it because it didn't exist yet. And they just really rolled with the punches, which was really great. And by the time I got to the first, I edited a lot as I was writing. I didn't like do like a full first draft and then edit, which is what I'm doing with my second book. But I
Mm,
like edited as I was going, because I was also like trying to submit to things too, like trying to get into like, Tin House and stuff like that. But uh, I finished the book, and when I read it all the way through, my reaction to it was like, well, this is a book. There's a beginning, middle, and end. It's not the best book I've ever read, but it is a book. And I ended up going back and editing it because I read a book called All My Puny Sorrows by Miriam Toews, who also wrote the Women Talking book that became the movie.
yeah.
And that book is like it's like truly almost a perfect book. It's about like suicide and depression, and it's one of the funniest books I've ever read. And I was in the middle of reading it, and I was like, I want my book to be half this good, and it's
Yeah.
not. So I decided to go back to it, and there is a craft book. I also read a lot of craft books. I'm very pro craft book. You got to kind of figure out what works for you. There's a book called Refuse to Be Done by Matt Bell. And there's like, I guess 4 stages, but I really focus on the first 3 stages where he's like, write the whole book all the way through. Like just like pen to paper, just bust it out. Then you read it. Well, you let it sit. You should let it sit for a little while. Like to let it sit for a month. Then you should read it and then outline it as it is, and then revise the outline. And I was like, revise the outline. How is that going to be helpful? It's actually like so much more helpful than you might realize because you're seeing
Hmm.
your book on like a macro scale. Like I was like, oh, I'm redundant here. Like these 2 chapters are doing the
Mm.
same thing for the narrative. I need to get rid of that scene, and that scene doesn't matter. So I combined a lot of things. And then once you edit the outline, you're supposed to rewrite the whole book. Which seems very scary. What he says is you're allowed to have the first draft up next to you, but you have to retype every sentence because you won't retype a bad sentence. And I found that this retyping thing was especially important to me because I was a new writer. Like I had never really
Mhm.
done a lot of fiction writing. I had read a lot of another great craft book I'm going to tell you is
Yeah.
Self-Editing for Fiction Writers. Like that book changed my life at the line level, like really, really helped improve my sentences. Um, and so when I was rewriting, I had all of that in my mind, and like the quality of the book like improved tenfold when I rewrote it. I think now I probably don't need to do that as much, though I'm still planning to rewrite my whole second book. Um, but it was like it felt so important to do that with the first book because the first draft that I'd read was like me learning how to write, and you could kind of tell.
What was that the massive difference between that first draft and that second draft after you rewrote it?
I mean, I think I learned how to trust my readers more. I was doing a lot of explaining of my
Mm-hmm.
characters' motivations, which I probably still do a little bit too much I mean, I'm hoping to ever always be a better writer, right, with every book that I write. But like that first draft, it was like really a lot of over explanation because I wasn't trusting my readers to understand what I was writing. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think really pulling back on that improved the book overall.
And then what do you think the difference is between the manuscript that I read and
Mm.
offered you on and then the book that everyone is reading and is published?
Yeah, I think so. The biggest thing that I worked on with Hannah in that round was character motivations, which makes sense because the way I wrote this book is not really the way a lot of writers will talk about how you should write a book. Like, I had a scenario, I had them being in this love triangle at the beginning of the book. And then I had to figure out a way for them to get there. And so I wasn't really doing the whole, my character is going to tell me what their life is going to look like. I was like, there are plot points that need to happen to get from A to B. You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
knew where they started in college, um and so like some of the choices didn't necessarily make sense. And so I worked a lot on like trying to like tweak the characterization so that like each person's motivations made sense for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So given that, let's talk a bit because I have to. Let's talk about Bindery and Sapph-Lit and that
Mm.
kind of publishing experience. How did you hear about Bindery and Pitch Fest? And then what was your reaction when you got that book deal offer in your inbox last December?
Yeah. I heard about it through Sapph-Lit. So I followed the Sapph-Lit Instagram, and I have no idea when I did that, but like long time ago, I'm obviously gonna follow anything like sapphic or lesbian book related. And I was almost finished with my book. I was planning, so your Pitch Fest was early December of 2024, and I think I found
Yeah.
out about it in like late October, early
Mhm.
November. And I am also a big proponent of reading your book aloud. I have read my book aloud maybe 4 or 5 times at this point. Um, and so all I had left to do was read like I was in the process of reading the whole book aloud to make sure that it was as tight as possible before querying. I already had a
Yeah.
query letter. I had worked with a developmental editor and built a query letter with them. And so I saw you joined Bindery and you were like, I'm going to open for a pitch fest for unagented authors. And I was not going to query until January because the
Mm,
publishing industry basically shuts down between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Like a lot of
yeah,
people
pretty
aren't
much.
accepting queries. And so I
Yeah.
was like, well, my stuff will be ready. Like, might as well just submit it. And I actually think you were looking for romance and I like commented on
Yeah.
one of your posts.
I remember this. Yeah.
I was like, what about a book about the romance of friendship? And you were like, totally. And so I
Yeah.
submitted it. Um, and that, I mean, it was very quick turnaround. I submitted it on a Wednesday. I was in San Francisco on a work trip. I woke up early, submitted it. And then I heard back on Monday
Yeah.
I heard from Shira on Monday.
Yeah.
But I remember being like on Friday, I came back to New York from my work trip and I was in the Uber home and like you kept posting asking for people to vote on the pitches. And I
Hmm.
could like click through and I couldn't see the pitches because I wasn't a member of Bindery, but I could see all the comments underneath and people were very clearly talking about my book. And it like made me really happy. I was like, even if I don't get this book deal, like this is the first time strangers are hearing about my book or encountering my book. And the fact that they are excited about it is really thrilling to me, even if this doesn't work out. And then it did work out, which
And
was
then it did.
wonderful.
No, I remember that like first post going up because you were the very first person to submit in Pitch Fest. Like I think the timestamp was like 6 in the morning or
Yeah, no, it
something.
was very
It was
early.
very early. And I was copying and pasting or summarizing like pitch letters basically to post on Bindery and have people vote on which one I should read first. And yours won in a landslide. And I read it in one sitting and I literally emailed Cher. I was like, this is it. Can you make this happen, please? And it took us a long time from that December offer to I think we signed the deal in like March or something.
It was like early April. It was so
Yeah,
long.
it
It
was
was about
so
five
long.
months of me being convinced it was never going to happen. I was like, this is going to
Yeah.
fall through. I'm telling people I have a book, but it's not going to
Yeah.
happen.
No, but
Like,
we started like dev like
no, I know
editing in good
we did
faith.
start, but I was still until the contract was signed, I was like, it's not going to happen. We can't announce it yet. Like,
No, everything worked out the way that it was meant to. And I'm really curious how you see your publishing experience, like in this like really small indie publisher compared to other writer friends of yours who maybe are at like a non-indie, like a larger publisher.
hmm.
And because like one of the big things that I've talked about is with other authors who are more traditionally published, they're like, I have no say in the cover design. Meanwhile, you and I had like 3 meetings with the cover designer.
We built
Like,
that cover
we built that
brick by
cover, like
bit, brick.
brick by brick. You took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would love to hear about
Yeah,
like what you see the big differences are and like the benefits or maybe other disadvantages. Like, what do you think?
I think that there are a few things. I mean, I've never been traditionally published, so I don't actually know like what it is like inside a big five or a more
Yeah.
traditional indie. But I do know I was shocked by how much control we got of the cover because this is something I've
Yeah.
heard a lot, especially if you're at a big five, you get almost no say in your cover. I think the other thing about being at a big five is that like
Mhm.
they rank their books, right? Like they understand the books that are going to make their money. And if you are not make going to be a book that's going to make you money, like you don't get a lot of support from the publisher at
Yeah.
the end of the day. And I think that like at Bindery, every author gets the exact same level of support. It's actually kind of a shocking amount of support. Like the fact that they send out those book boxes, like not a lot of
Yeah.
people get that. That is huge that we are sending out book boxes. And I think like just in general, like going to BookCon and like having
Hmm.
each author aligned with like an influencer already who's like knows their community really well and can make contact. I mean, like one thing I was really excited about is that I was like, I don't want to get on TikTok as an author, which spoiler, I did
But
get
you
on TikTok.
did. And
Did
it's
I
so
totally?
good.
It's really good. I actually think TikTok is really fun. It's a really
Mhm.
good it's way better than Instagram in terms of like how it makes you feel by yourself. Um But I mean, it's like nice that you don't have to depend on that, right? Like, and
Mhm.
actually, it was like so. I mean, I used to text you all the time, and you would give me feedback on my TikToks, like, and
No,
that was
you
really
I
helpful.
remember like I think it was like the first arc we got. You sent me like the video that you took and you were like, "Is this okay?" But it was great and your TikTok has blossomed.
Thank
Like
you.
I feel like you really slay at the content creation game. You're like coming for my job.
I'm definitely not.
No, I love that. Let's dive into like the content of the book because I feel like there are two big themes that I really want to talk about with you. One of them being unlikable characters.
Mm,
You and I talked about this so much before the book came out, how characters are kind of, especially female characters, are written off as unlikable when they are just going through it mentally. They are like in the mental health trenches. And I love books like that. It makes me feel less crazy
right.
sometimes. And like I've met people like Trace Jordan and Sylvia, fortunately and unfortunately in some cases.
Yeah.
So talk to me about your girls. Tell me why you love them and tell me what you hope people understand about them and other unlikable characters in general.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about this a little bit at my Books Are Magic
Mm,
launch, but I feel like one thing I wanted people to take out of this book is like empathy, either for their former self or like the self that they are currently existing in. I think that it is really normal to be a bit chaotic and messy in your 20s because you're figuring out who you are. You're figuring out, I mean, I came out in my early 20s, like I didn't have relationships before then. Like these were my first relationships. Like maybe as a straight person, you learned how to do that in high school. Even if you came out in high school, though, like there's a lot to figure out. You're trying to be an adult, you're trying to make money, maybe you're paying off student loans, like you're trying to be a good family member, a good like citizen of the world, and like also fall in love. And like all of those things are really hard and complicated. And you're not going to do it right. And every person is so different based on like who they were growing up and their experiences and their family. And that's going to shape you in different ways and make you react to situations in different ways. And I think in my relationships in my 20s, I felt all the time that I was like so deeply wronged by these people who were also just trying to like
yeah.
get by and deal with their own shit. And like now I look back and I just like feel a lot of gratitude towards all of them. And I'm not like I don't have any anger. Um, and that's kind of like what I wanted to put into these characters.
Yeah. What are your favorite things about Trey, Sylvia, and Jordan?
Mm. Oh, that's such a good question. I I love that Trace is like such a lover girl, like really unapologetically.
Hmm.
She's a romantic. She just wants to be in love and be loved. Um, and she works hard for that. She might work a little too hard, and maybe that's something she needs to work on. But I like that. Um, I like how Sylvia is very independent and very sure of herself, though maybe not so sure of herself inside, but comes across very self-assured. And maybe she is a little too independent, and
Hmm.
needs to learn to depend on others. Um, and then Jordan, what about Jordan? I mean, she's a good friend. She's maybe too good of a friend. She's maybe a little
Yeah.
too selfless sometimes, but
So it's interesting. Every single thing you named for someone, like the thing that you loved about them, was also their like sometimes their biggest
yeah, no, I
weakness.
think I think
Yeah,
there's double-edged sword, you know what I mean?
100%. Um, I'm like just like the tarot deck says. Let's get into what I feel like is sort of like the heart of this book, which is queer chosen family and
Mm,
queer chosen family breakups.
hmm.
I think friendship breakups was something we as society didn't really recognize as one of the hardest things someone goes through until rather recently. And then, like, taking it a step further, I feel like queer chosen family breakups can be even more painful. Queer friendship to me runs deeper. especially when you don't
Hmm.
have support of your blood family. And even the term chosen family carries a lot of weight. And so when those relationships end, it's like this massive life rupture. And I read your People magazine essay. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank
That's so
you.
cool. And you talk about how just because a relationship ends doesn't mean it necessarily was a failure, even though
Hmm.
society conditions us towards permanence as a marker of success. And you also talk about codependence, and these Saturn returning girls are very codependent in their own
Yeah.
ways. Um, and how codependence makes you feel lonelier. So like I feel like there's just like a lot to chew on
Hmm.
when it comes to queer chosen family breakups and queer chosen family in general, and even figuring out how to find that, because I think, there are these shows and like queer media and queer culture that like when you come out, this queer chosen family is presented to you on a silver platter, and
Yeah.
it's all going to be okay, and you're going to
Yeah.
enter this like beautiful world, and it's all sunshine and rainbows. And yeah, I think, I mean, this is like kind of just a half-baked questionable rant at this point, but
Hmm.
I just would love your perspective on how queer chosen family is also like that double-edged sword for these girls.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I stuck on that you said is how to make chosen family, because it
Mm,
was a struggle for me. I do think in your
mm,
20s friendship is almost like accidental. Like there's just so many new
mm,
people in your orbit all the time from school. Maybe you go to grad school, maybe you work at a retail store, you work at a restaurant, you start a corporate job, but you're all like pretty junior. And so you hang out a lot after work, and nobody has like kids or marriage or families to go home to. Everyone's just like kind of trying to take shots at 6 p.m. And like that changes. And so when I was in my 20s, I wasn't really doing a lot of like intentional friendship building. I just like people came into my life, and if we clicked, great. And when I moved to New York was when I was like, okay, well now I have a corporate job where people are married and have kids and don't want to hang out after work, and I actually don't really want to hang out with them. And I'm like not dating because I want to make friends and I don't want to get pulled into this relationship. And it became a lot harder, and you do have to be more intentional about it. And I think what I figured out is that like if you tend towards codependency, which I think is really easy in like our very interconnected world that we have now, like you can phone a friend, you have like touch point on your friends all the time. You can see their life
mm,
through 4 different social medias. You can call them, FaceTime them, text them, like there's like a million ways to be connected. And maybe that feels really good. Sometimes I think in the pandemic, it actually did feel really, really good to have all of that because we
yeah.
were stuck inside. But I think as life moves on, like I think it's actually a negative, and I think what I did was like replace my friends with the codependency it had with my partnerships. I like put my friends
Mm.
in that place, and I would text them all the time anytime I had like a feeling. I was like, well, I would throw it into a group chat, you know what I mean? And it's like sometimes you need to just sit with that feeling yourself and figure out how to deal with it,
Yeah.
and that is really, really healthy. Um, and I think I don't know. I like chosen family. I think that the weight of that word, as you said, it
Yeah.
stresses me out a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it is really beautiful that we have this thing as a culture, but I also think that like as queerness has become like so much more accepted, or like certain forms of queerness, right? Let's just talk about like being gay or bisexual. Obviously, like the trans community needs a lot of support and is not as socially accepted. Though I really have a belief that we will get there as we did with gayness. Um, but I think that like as it becomes less stigmatized, like chosen family means a lot different. Like, I mean, if you are a straight person who doesn't have a good relationship with your family, you also can have chosen family. It's not something that's like, needs to remain in the queer space. Um, I'm like not even really sure where I'm going with this anymore, but like I think that we should look at all relationships in a very similar light. Like just because it's romantic doesn't mean that we should look at it, or platonic doesn't mean we should look at it different than romantic relationships. And being very
Mhm.
careful about like the expectations we put on other people in our lives.
Mm.
Um, and I think it it is really easy to assume that other people are thinking about a situation the same way that you are. And they're not, because their life has looked differently, their experiences have been different. I think that, another thing I talked about at Books Are Magic is that like the three different point of views for these characters was like kind of an exercise in empathy for me. Like if I were
Mm,
to be in a situation and assume that somebody is taking an action for X, Y, and Z reason, and then put myself in their shoes and be like, why might actually I be making this decision? Like based on like, scars from my past. It's different than you might expect.
yeah, I love that. I love that answer. Um, where do you think Sylvia, Trace, and Jordan are going to be in 5 years after the end of the book, 10 years after the end of the book? What are their imagined futures for you?
Yeah.
And a little, maybe
Uh,
this might be a little spoilery for those who
yeah, if you haven't
haven't finished
finished
the
the
book
book.
yet.
Sylvia, she's van life, you know what I mean? Like
God, that just
she's
sent me. I'm sorry.
yeah, she's like in Nevada. I don't know. She's on a van. Maybe she's in Hawaii. Maybe she's surfing. I think that she is, maybe she has a little dog. Um, then Trace is in New York. Trace is still in New York. She's like made her New York dream come true. Um, and Jordan, I think Jordan is still upstate. I think Jordan like found a nice little
Oh,
cabin, a little cottage, and Jordan is doing like really cheesy like family photo shoots and weddings and like, she travels around New England in the summer and for weddings. That's and I don't really like I think everyone can, the ending is a little open-ended, right? I think anyone can take the ending however they want. Um, I don't imagine that they are not friends anymore, but I think that they need space, and I think they all realized we need some space. But like, I mean, there are people like that I was very close to in college who have like reached out to me. Um, since my book has come out and been like, I'm getting your book, my book club is reading your book. And like that means so much to me. And like I imagine that they eventually have similar, types of relationships. Maybe Jordan comes to the city for a wedding and she and Trace get a drink, kind of thing.
yeah. So they're in each other's orbits.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but not heavily involved.
Not heavily involved.
Yeah, love. What is the reaction from a reader that has stood out to you?
Oh. Okay, I'll talk about this because I have been meaning to post about this and I haven't actually posted about it, or like write about it in my Substack. One of the first reviews, I don't generally read the reviews. As soon as the book like started being available to other people, I was like, I'm not reading reviews. And then eventually I was like, okay, well, I would like to post some of these reviews. So I like read all the 5-star reviews and I was like, okay, this is fine. And then I like dipped my toe into 4-star reviews. And it was fine because it turns out readers use the star rating system very different than I do. I'm like, if I
Yeah,
rated it 4 stars, I probably really didn't like it. That's actually not true. That's maybe I saved that for 3 stars, but I'm just like, A for effort, you wrote a whole book. Like
yeah, no,
everyone gets three
literally.
stars.
Hmm.
Um, but that's really not how readers use Goodreads and Storygraph. And so 4-star reviews are pretty safe too. But one of the reviews, like at the top of the review, and this is one that I posted on Instagram, was like, this is a queer normal people, which,
Mm,
and let me explain why that is like such a big deal for me, is that I wrote this book in the beginning of 2020. Normal People came out in 2019, I believe. It was like the book
yeah.
of 2019. And when I started writing this book, the way that the chapters like move forward in time, I wanted to mimic what she did in Normal People, where she was just like 3 months later, 9 months later, like it was just like this ambiguous like move forward, jump forward in time, and that is kind of how Saturn Returning
Yeah.
obviously goes back and forth in time a bit, but like in the past storyline, it does kind of like there's sometimes 12 months between chapters, 15 months, there's sometimes only 1 month.
Hmm.
And so that is kind of how I wanted the book to be read. And like, I remember going out to dinner with two of my friends. This was my last dinner in a restaurant before lockdown. I was in Bushwick. We went out to dinner, and afterwards, I was like telling them about the book I'd started writing, and literally said to them, I'm gonna write The Queer Normal People. And they both laughed. And I'm not friends with either of those people anymore, which I think is important to state. They both laughed. And I was like, no, 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 I'm serious.
Yeah.
Please take
Hmm.
my artistic endeavors seriously. And so the fact that somebody wrote that without me suggesting that anywhere really meant a lot.
Oh my God, I love that. No, you have to post about that. That's such a
Yeah.
good story. Um, Tell everyone what you're working on now. Tell them about book two if you want to.
Oh my God, this is crazy that you're asking me this because I actually started a different book this past week that I'm
Oh,
writing over 1,000 Words of Summer. I think it's a novella. I'm calling it book 1.5. It is maybe a romance. Maybe I'm letting myself like write a little bit of a romance. And by that I mean there's a happy ending. Um, so there's a new project that we'll see what happens with it. And then my other book that I've been working on for a very long time, um, that I'm in the editing the outline phase of, is about a girl who's like a wannabe influencer in New York who has a video go viral. And then she kind of gets pulled into an influencer sex cult that she figures out has like maybe some political motivation behind it. Um, so that's, thank you to Nixium for the inspiration there.
the whole we talked about this at Books Are Magic, I think, like all of the Nexium documentaries, and anything coming out at Albany during those days was
Oh my
absolutely
goodness.
bonkers.
Yes.
I had the time of my life when those were dropping on HBO.
Yeah, a bit 2019, really a big year for culture.
Big year for culture. Okay, we're gonna go into the rapid fire round. Short
Oh
questions,
gosh.
short answers, whatever comes to your mind, but tangents are also encouraged if you want to go on one. And for those who are listening and have any questions for Kim, drop them in the chat now and we will ask them at the end. Okay, what are you currently reading?
Um, what am I reading? Oh, it's called Chamiso. It's written by like a British man. My friend got this for me at Gaze the Word. And it's about
Yeah.
like a girl from Zimbabwe who moves to London and like falls in love with a trans woman.
Ooh.
She was like, I wanted to find something you wouldn't have read already, which is tough to be fair. So she got this for my birthday last year, and I am reading that. And I'm also reading one of my friend's manuscripts, which hopefully you will see on your shelves in a couple of years.
Wow. Is it Mia's?
No, no,
No.
it's
Okay.
another friend from Tin House, but it's her memoir. It's like a book of essays.
Oh, that's awesome. What is a book that you recommend everyone to read? Like, if you haven't read this book, put everything that you're doing down and start it.
I Keep My Exoskeletons to Myself by Matt Crane.
Yes.
I
Yes,
love that
love.
book. Also sad and funny. Like, and all my puny sorrows, like we could put that in there, but if you want a gay one, Matt Crane.
What is a book coming out soon that you're excited to read?
Oh, Girl's Girl, obviously.
Yes,
And
Sonia
also Lovers
Feldman.
Triple X by Ali Rowbottom. Those I'm picking up both of those on Tuesday. I'm very excited.
Incredible. It's such a good sapphic gay book summer.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. No, we're being
Blessed.
fed. So I know you're going to be asked this question when you're in Boston next week. So
Oh
to
no.
prep, what Taylor Swift song would
No,
you
I know I
assign
haven't had
to your
time to do
girls?
this yet. Okay. Okay, so there's two songs that I was literally gonna do this on the train after after this, but this is very fair that you asked me this.
Yep.
Okay, so the first one I'm gonna go with is the manuscript, which seems on the nose. I'll be honest. That I
Hmm.
almost used a quote from that song as an epigraph and cut it because I thought it was a little too on the nose. And I also Taylor Swift is such like a divisive figure. I was like, I don't want people to have that lingering in their head as they went in, right? But the manuscript's like she's basically saying in that song, like you have to go back to the beginning to understand how we ended up here. And like that is what the quote I was going to use pulled. And I think that is how the book is. Like the book is not really about the love triangle. It's about how we got to the love triangle. And so I think the manuscript is a good one. I was gonna pick one of the love triangle songs. I think I was gonna go with Cardigan from
Oh.
our Folklore Evermore era. Um,
Mhm.
And wait, sorry, I'm pulling up my playlist. I feel like those are the only two I have immediately. Did you think of any?
I mean, of course I did.
Okay.
Um, so the one that I thought of for Sylvia immediately is also from Tortured Poets Department, like the manuscript. It's the Bolter.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like that is so Sylvia coded
Hmm.
to me. Um, and I had one for Trace, but it's escaping me now. We can talk about it.
So many of them are
Um,
Trace, to be fair.
so I mean, just Trace has so many big emotions and doesn't know how to sit with discomfort,
I
and
know. I know.
that's okay.
I know.
But then she makes it everyone's problem.
I know. I know.
Okay, this is another question I ask everyone in rapid fire round. If you could have dinner with anyone dead or alive, who would it be? And it can also be a dinner party if you want people to be in conversation with one another.
Mm, so interesting. Yeah, this is a good question. I mean, I feel like there are some like writers, like I really want to be on a fly in the wall in some writer group chats, right? And I know that
Yeah.
there are some writer group chats. I like writer like lesbian writers who are friends, like, Kristen Arnett, Takira Madden, Carmen
Hmm.
Maria Machado, like those folks. Like I'm like, what are we all getting into over dinner? I almost don't even want to be there. I just want a camera set up or
Oh, yeah.
something. Um, because yeah, let me tell you, the writer friends are important once you get into it. Um, this is a very good question, and I feel like I don't know that there's anybody dead. Oh, Nora Ephron, maybe.
Oh, I love that answer.
Yeah, and that answer is
I
because I
love
did just
Nora.
read Famesick. Lena Dunham would probably be a great dinner party guest.
Yeah.
Julia Fox, my friend just gave me her memoir.
Oh my God, you have to let me know what you
She
think. I
would she would say
listened,
some crazy shit, I'm sure.
yeah, I listened to Julia Fox's memoir, and the vocal fry was just so comforting.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a question that one of our Sapph-Liddies came up with, and I had to ask it for this book. If you had to take Trace, Sylvia, and Jordan to a fast food or chain restaurant, where would you take each of them?
Oh. Oh.
So, like, could be an
Okay.
Olive Garden or a
No, 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 for
Chili's,
sure,
could
for sure, for
be
sure.
a Checkers, Popeyes
Like one for
situation,
each of them individually or
or
one
you
for
could
all of
take them
them?
either or, however you want to answer.
Okay, well, I'm gonna give it a very Seattle answer, which is Dick's, which is a fast food what do you joint company place in Seattle. If you know Macklemore, which you probably do from like the two really famous songs he had, one of his music videos is shot on the roof of a Dick's, but like Dick's was like it's most of them are like drive ups, so, like drive up and you stand at a window and then you go eat in your car. And this is like people where people would hang out in high school, and it used to be cash only, and it was very, very cheap. Like you could get a burger, fries, and a milkshake for under $10.
Oh shit. Yeah.
It was like I think it was like $8 or something like that, like in high school. I was in the Dick's parking lot when I found out Michael Jackson died. So yeah, Dick's is that's like where they would like if you go to Pride in Seattle and you're hanging out at the Seattle Center, then you like go to Dick's afterwards and you get food. That's like the move.
I love that answer.
Mm.
Um, and then this is a new question that I added in specifically for Saturn Returning because we say this book is a big queer mess.
Mm,
Messy is the key word, I feel like, in so many of the reviews that we've seen.
yeah.
What is the messiest thing about you, Kim?
Oh no. Oh no. Um, the messiest thing about me, I think I'm like attracted to a little bit of chaos. Uh both platonically and romantically, and is something I'm really avidly trying to work on. I think I'm a lot better at it, but like in my 20s. Like, I mean, the way I just dated people with glaring red flags because I was like, this will be
Yeah.
fun. And
Oh
it
no,
was, and it was also
absolutely.
like the biggest, like the most pain I've ever experienced in my life. But um, yeah, I think that's my messy tendency.
Yeah, I think I would probably have about the same answer.
Mhm.
Favorite class you took at university?
Um, Oh, what was it called? My professor was Kimberly J. Brown. There was only like seven students in this. I think it was like
Mm.
introduction, like American contemporary fiction, and we read like um uh what is it? Truman Capote, In Cold Blood, and we
Mm.
read Sylvia Plath, and we read Cormac McCarthy, Blood Meridian. Was it yeah, I think it was Blood Meridian that we read for that class. And then I like read all of Cormac McCarthy's books. He has a horse series. I don't know if you know this. It is like very misogynistic, but it's called All the Pretty Horses. It's great. Um, yeah, I loved that class. I feel like it really taught me to like I mean those are all canon writers obviously, but I think
Yeah.
I was an English major up until then. We were like reading like Jane Austen and Henry James and that kind of stuff and I think it really like broke me away from like needing to be
Mm.
like living in the canon. Like I write contemporary literature. I want to read contemporary literature. So that was really fun.
I love that. Favorite queer movie and or TV show?
Hmm. There is a movie called The Unbelievably True Story of Two Girls in Love, which is like
Oh,
it's I think it's like from like the 90s and what's her name who played Tina from The L Word is like a masked lesbian in it and it is they played it at New Fest a couple weeks ago or a couple years ago. It is so so good. And then there's also what is it? Desert something which is about like two girls on a ranch who
I don't know this one.
yeah I don't know I'll
Desert
Desert
Hearts.
Hearts yeah so you
Yeah.
should watch
Thank
that
you,
one
Athena. Okay, noted.
um yeah so those are two good movies I mean gay TV show hmm I mean I guess it's like the L Word I don't I feel like we've really struggled well I mean Hacks I don't
I
know
st
a lot of
I
things
feel
are
like
like kind of gay these days like most things are
yeah.
kind of gay which I love. This is great.
I so many people that I interview and ask the same question to say Hacks, and I still have never seen Hacks. And now that Hacks has ended, I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, now I can binge it.
Yeah. Now you can binge it, which is good. It's like a tight, like 35-minute episodes, very
Yeah,
bingeable.
amazing.
Yeah, Ava's wonderful. Great character.
And then last rapid fire question, favorite queer influencer or celebrity to follow on social media?
You,
Besides me.
that's such an interesting question. I'm like, who do I follow? I feel like I've only recently really gotten into like following influencers. I mean, I don't follow Shannon Beveridge, but I do think she's a fascinating figure. I have like followed her before and then, like I clean out my Instagram every now and then. I'm like, I really like to follow people I kind of know who's like,
Yeah,
art I really admire.
yeah.
Um, and so I go in and out with folks like her, but I think the talk about chaos. I did really
Yes.
fascinating.
The lesbian drama of it all.
I'm so
They would love.
I guess Chriselle. Let's go with Chriselle.
Oh, Chriselle, absolutely.
Yeah,
No,
no,
we
it's
need
definitely
to.
Chriselle.
The lesbians of the West Coast need to read Saturn Returning.
Yeah. No, I don't really know a lot of people in LA. I have like some friends in LA. But I was just like, I'm like, I just gotta get to LA because I
Hmm.
think it'll be fascinating to be there. Yeah, Chriselle, I think is a fascinating. I do think she posts as if she doesn't have as many followers as she has. I don't think she realizes how much power she has, which, fine, but I think it's great. I love it.
Amazing. Okay, let's get into chat questions. Keep them coming if you have them. Sylvia asks, how did you navigate distinguishing character voice when writing multiple POVs?
That's a great question that I don't have a great answer to. I'm not really sure how I did it. I don't even know how successfully I did it. If you think they're different, that's great. I don't know that I was like doing a lot of intentionality there. Um, to be honest, I will say what I did when I was editing the book in dev edits last year is that I edited each character at a time, which I have heard from other writers is the thing to do. I think it's a little easier when you have point of view chapters to do that, but I would do like all of Sylvia, and then I would go back and do all of Trace, and then I'd do all of Jordan. And so that helped me like really be like, okay, this is where this person is at in all of these places, and this is like how would this person's like emotions cause them to interpret that thing? I mean, honestly, I feel like I don't have a lot of great craft answers because I am still trying to figure it out. And what I will say is that if you want to get better at writing or get better at a certain piece of craft, is that you should read a lot of people who have done that
Mm.
already. Because I really think I knew how to write a book because I had read thousands of books before. Like I understood like plot beats and I understood how a chapter should end and how a chapter should start because I just like ingested it. It was like inside me already.
Yeah, I love that editing note for like doing them at like the same, like grouping all of their POVs
Yeah.
together and doing it at the same time. I'm stealing that.
Yeah, do
Um,
it. Mhm.
Emma asks, I know in your acknowledgments you thanked someone for helping with the tarot and astrology elements of the book,
Mm.
which are so crucial for Sylvia's character. How did you first envision that part of the book, and how did it take full form as you worked on the book?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think it, that was kind of it's a little bit of like an archetype for like the lesbian community, right? Like a witchy femme lesbian. And so I was just trying to really lean into that with Sylvia. Partially because like I admire those types of people and I'm not really that. I didn't know a lot about astrology other than like my own signs when I started writing this book. And I think I had somewhat recently learned what a Saturn return is, which was why that was like top of mind. Um, and I certainly like as I started writing this book at the beginning of my time in New York, I would say that like my time in New York, like I was like sunk into lesbian culture in like a way in a deeper way than I ever had been before. Like all most of my friends here are dykes and like that's really lovely. And I go to a lot of like gay parties and like I feel like I've curated my social media to be like very dykey spaces, which is wonderful. And also like I mean I organized the Dyke March and so like I met a lot of people in different generations and like older dykes, which was like very helpful and informative too. Um so yeah, that one person I thanked, I like early on had written the tarot chapter and I was like tarot I still don't really know anything about, but I was like um, I need someone to tell me what card, like I know what I want the emotion to be when the card is pulled, what I want it to be like trying to insinuate, but I need someone to tell me what cards I should have them pull. And so I had somebody, I like went to Lex. I don't know if you guys, Lex is a little
Yeah.
bit, it's a little dead now, unfortunately, but like this was still when it was a newer app. And folks were excited about it. And I found somebody on Lex who was like, I'll read your chapter and like drop card suggestions in, which was like incredibly kind of them. Um, and yeah, I get that was one thing that we definitely tweaked during dev edits is that Hannah, the editor, was like, I feel like I feel like you're kind of on the cusp of this. And so like, I mean, all of the crystal stuff was like added in then. Crystals was also like I kind of added things in as I learned about them, right? Like crystals was not something that I like knew a lot about. And now I have a crystal that sits on my desk all the time.
I
And I
love
do
that.
hold it sometimes. I got it in Sedona last year. So I don't know. It was just kind of like sprinkles of things. I'm like a little bit terrified for anyone who actually like knows astrology and tarot really well to read this. And I took an introduction to astrology class with Gina Cadlick last fall, and the book was done at that point. And I was like, Jesus Christ, I should have taken this 2 years ago because it would have been really informative for me. But you live and you learn.
But we did. hire Gina to do the birth charts,
Yes, which
like
was
readings
so
for
cool.
all three of the characters. And if you are on Bindery, you can access that post. It's uploaded to our YouTube. Um, and it was like scarily accurate.
Yeah,
Um,
that was crazy.
it was meant to be. So clearly you knew something when you were filling out the birth
Yeah,
charts and making their dates.
my intuition.
Um, yeah, and I mean, I feel like astrology was kind of what we leaned into with like the book like copy and marketing. It's like very celestial
Yeah,
space, stars, orbits, meant to be written in the stars vibes.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, the like I feel like the tarot, like Sylvia's tarot is kind of like that through line that like mirrors kind of how they're feeling and what they're going through and what they need in those like little key scenes that you peppered in. So, I mean, I love that we included a tarot deck in those book boxes. And
yeah.
yeah, and we had the tarot reader at the grotto launch party. It was very witchy femme lesbian, which I, I'm a little witchy. I'm the witchy femme bisexual.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There you go.
Um, Sylvia also asks, you mentioned that you were reluctant to join TikTok. I can relate. What is your favorite
Mm.
platform and what social media strategies have worked for you? Also, any tips for finding beta readers?
Beta readers were my friends. So I had four beta readers, and only one of them, oh gosh, sorry, my music just started playing on my phone. Um, Only one of them was a writer. It was somebody I'd recently met who was getting her MFA at NYU. And we had just we like met in P-Town and became friends. And she agreed to read it. But everybody else who was a beta reader were just like friends of mine who were like, yeah, I'll read your book. They're not writers at all. Um, and I actually think that that was a really healthy mix to have. And I almost think it was most of the feedback I got were from people who weren't writers, who weren't gonna like give me specific craft stuff. Because then I also did hire a developmental editor who, was gonna be able to talk to me at like, on the craft level. Um, but like the readers were just like, I don't like, so this is like an interesting tidbit is that the entire book before beta readers for like 3 years, the present day storyline was set during COVID lockdown. Cause like when I started writing the book, that's what it was. And I was like, I need a way for them to get stuck in this apartment together. And so I just used it. And my first beta reader, my friend Nate was like, I don't want to read about COVID. And I was like, yeah, that's totally fair. And so I completely changed that present day storyline. So beta readers are very helpful. But yes, I just asked friends. And these are friends who offered. They were like pretty excited about it. So that was nice. You could use Lex to find a beta reader.
Yeah.
Um, what were the other questions?
It was
Oh,
you
reluctant to
were
join TikTok.
yeah, favorite social platform and strategies that have worked for you
I
as
do
like
think
a as an
I think
author.
TikTok is the best social media platform, and I think that there's a lot of reasons for that. But I think um, TikTok is really prioritizing you engaging with the content, not seeing like numbers behind the content. Like you can't go to somebody's profile and see how many times they've posted. When you go to somebody's profile, does it tell you if people you follow them? Like, I feel like those kind of things like plague me a little bit, the way that it's so highlighted on Instagram.
Mm.
I think that Instagram, it has done a really good job at like highlighting comparison, whereas TikTok is just
Mm.
like, is this a funny video? Like, you could get a video that has like 1 million views and have 200 followers. Like, that is really, it feels very egalitarian. You know what I mean? Like, um, I also think, I mean, and this is like what I'm exploring a little bit in the book I'm writing about it. Like, TikTok really seems like the only way to achieve the American dream now. Like, I think this is why people want to
Ooh.
do it, is like, this is how you make money. Like, you can't, if you follow all the rules, you go to college, you get a corporate job that's maybe being taken over by AI. Those things don't work anymore. Like, TikTok is how you make money. And like, if you come from nowhere. And I think that that is why people are really obsessed with it.
Mm.
Um, but I also think it's not. it's not as serious and it's not as
Yeah.
curated. It is so much more raw, and I really appreciate that because I think we're in like a backlash with Instagram has become such like a hyper curated space.
Yeah.
Um,
It's full of
what social
clout
media?
demons.
Yeah, no, I mean, and yeah, you'll see that on TikTok too, for sure.
Yeah.
But um, and what social media strategies have worked for me? I mean, so I posted the post I did with reviews on Inst. I've had two things go like a little viral on Instagram. Um, the one with the reviews did pretty well. I guess that just like kind of got picked up, which was really shocking to me. I
Yeah.
was not expecting that. The other thing I had go viral on Instagram, which very much surprised me, was I wrote a Substack about heated rivalry, and
Yeah.
like in January about like dykes, like lesbians liking heated rivalry, and that Substack and that Instagram post like really took off in a way that I was not expecting, which got me a lot of Substack subscribers and a lot of followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
Including like there were some like writers who like read it. What is Samantha, what's her name? Forgetting her name. Anyway, she read it and commented on it. She this is gonna
What did she
bother.
write?
She writes funny essays.
Samantha Irby.
Samantha Irby, yeah,
Yeah.
came across my Substack and like subscribed to my Substack after reading it. I was like,
I
"What?
love
This
Samantha
is
Irby. Yeah.
crazy." Yeah, so that was a surprise. I guess right about I get writing. I mean, this is why people like make TikTok videos about things that are trending, right? Because that it will get shown and like talking about heated
Hmm.
rivalry really worked.
Yeah. I remember the other TikTok that you went viral for that you were texting me about was you getting hit with a hockey puck.
Yeah, I mean the shit that have gone viral. So yeah, I did have TikToks go viral about hockey. Like I did
Yeah.
TikToks about heated rivalry go viral, and then I did one of the first TikToks I made was about how I got. You can go look it up. It's there. I got hit by a hockey puck in the face at a hockey game in like 2018. And there's a picture of me in the freight elevator at the TD Garden, like covered in blood, that you can go look at on TikTok. That went really viral, but like not in a way that was helpful. Like people didn't follow me from that. And that really hit like a weird, like straight male international audience that was not going to be buying my book. You know what I mean?
So funny. Well, that was the last question. Anything else you want to share with the Sapph-Litties before we go?
I don't think so. This has been really fun. Thank you all for your support. Like it's been the world to have this community who's like so invested in the book. I've really appreciated it.
Well, I adore you and I'm so thankful for you. And Saturn Returning is out there forever now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thrilling.
crazy. We'll have a lovely rest of your Sunday and happy Pride Month starting at midnight.
Thank
Hell
you.
yeah.
You too. Thrilling. All
Yeah, we'll talk soon. All right. Thank
right.
you,
Bye. Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye.